Good morning. Welcome to CATEX-TV. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Monday, January 3rd, 2011. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in the U.S. It's 4:30 p.m. in London, 12:30 in Bermuda, and in Mexico City, 10:30 a.m. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, you can phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. London remains closed today. It's a national holiday. President Obama is flying today from Hawaii back to Washington, D.C. The new Congress convenes on Wednesday with the Republican-controlled House of Representatives. We'll now go to our main news. There was a 7.1 magnitude earthquake that struck Chile yesterday. Here's the picture of it. The big square is the 7.1. The aftershocks registered as high as about 5.2. Drove tens of thousands of panicked residents from their house. There was no tsunami alert. The quake struck yesterday at about 5:21 p.m. local time, about 30 miles northwest of the town of Temuco. Communities such as Tolton, Teodoro Smith, Porto Savadra saw about 50,000 people voluntarily run out of their homes and move to higher ground for fear of an earthquake. Last February, of course, the 8.8 quake devastated coastal towns in Chile, killing more than 500 people and causing a massive insured loss for the insurance industry. Here's a picture of the town of Rockhampton in Australia. This is runway 33L. You couldn't land a plane there today. The military is rushing supplies into this city. It was cut off by floodwaters. It turned the whole area into a giant lake. Drenching rain that began before Christmas has flooded an area the size of the countries of France and Germany combined in the northeastern Australian state of Queensland. At least 22 towns and cities have been inundated. The town of Rockhampton is a town of 75,000 people. It's effectively been closed and isolated. People can't reach it. The Australian Prime Minister indicates that about 200,000 people have been affected by the floods, and damage could ultimately amount to hundreds of millions of dollars. This is the MV Blida. This is a Algerian-owned ship. It has been hijacked by pirates in the Indian Ocean. It was hijacked Saturday about 150 nautical miles southeast of Oman. The ship was heading to Tanzania at the time it was seized. There's another ship. This ship is off Bermuda. It's the Greek-owned Aegean Angel. It was heading to Houston from Estonia with a cargo of fuel oil when it was hit by a mighty big wave. It killed the captain of the ship. It killed the chief mechanic of the ship. And the 34-year-old deputy captain or executive officer has sustained severe injuries. It's limping into Bermuda. It's going to arrive there sometime this afternoon. Apparently it hit a force 8 wind about 800 miles from Bermuda. And in Russia on Saturday, emergency officials indicate that another Tupolev 154 jet had an incident. This one had an exploding engine while it was taxiing for takeoff at the Siberian airport of Surgut. 124 people are on board. Fortunately, only 3 people were killed. As a result, the Russians have in fact grounded the remaining 14 Tu-154s in Russia. This jet had been operated by the regional Kogomyavia airline. It was bound for Moscow. Stock market in New York is open and doing quite well right now. It's up about 124 points. We'll go to a word from our sponsors. Well, it's the beginning of January, and that means, as usual, for every beginning of January, an email arrived from Munich Re talking about the natural catastrophes. They say that the cost to insurers of natural disasters has increased by more than 2/3, all the way up to $37 billion for 2009. Insured losses exceeded the annual average of $35 billion that had been the annual average over the past 10 years. 2009 was a pretty light year, it was $22 billion. Overall losses from natural disasters more than doubled to $130 billion in 2010 from a year earlier. Here's Torsten Jaworek. He heads the company's reinsurance unit. He said 2010 showed the major risks we have to cope with. There were a number of severe earthquakes. The hurricane season was also eventful. It was just fortunate that the tracks of most of those storms remained out over the open sea. The number of natural cats in the world rose to 950 from 900. 90% of those events were related to weather. The earthquakes in Haiti, Chile, and central China, the heat wave in Russia, and the floods in Pakistan were all categorized as great natural catastrophes. These accounted, said Mr. Jaworek, for the major share of fatalities in 2010, about 295,000. Most of them, of course, came from the Haitian earthquake. Well, here's a picture of now Governor Cuomo. He had been the Attorney General up until midnight on, I believe, Friday night. Well, in one of his last acts as Attorney General, he obtained the consent of Zurich Financial Services, ACE, CNA Financial Corporation, and Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association Insurance to pay $120 million to settle claims that they collected too much in workers' comp cases. The breakdown: ACE agreed to pay $70 million, Zurich paid $37.5 million, the Pennsylvania Manufacturing Insurance Company a shade under $6 million, and CNA paid $5.75 million. The Bank of America thinks that it's in Julian Assange's crosshairs. Assange, of course, is the WikiLeaks founder. The bank is preparing for a potential onslaught of embarrassing and damaging information about the bank from WikiLeaks. This is according to today's New York Times. Last November, Assange warned that he would unleash documents purporting to reveal, quote, an ecosystem of corruption at a prominent U.S. bank. Many have speculated that the Bank of America is the target. Assange has claimed that he has a hard drive of a bank's executive with 5 gigabytes of data in his possession. The Times said that the BOA has established a team of 20 company officials led by the chief risk officer to oversee a broad internal investigation, supposedly, quote, scouring thousands of documents in the event that they become public, reviewing every case where a computer has gone missing, and hunting for any sign that its systems might have been compromised. The bank has retained the services of Booz Allen Hamilton, the consulting firm, to help with the review. They've also sought out advice from legal firms to ascertain their potential liabilities. The bank also had another story today. They have agreed to pay more than $2.6 billion to settle claims that it sold loans to Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae based on faulty information. The Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae banks or groups are trying to force lenders to buy back loans that may have been made with incorrect data on income and home values. Before the settlement today, the Bank of America had faced about $13 billion in unresolved putback demands on bad mortgages, with about half of those related to government-sponsored entities. The company had said back in October that it had reserved $4.4 billion for costs relating to that problem. So this means they have about $1.5 billion in reserves left for that, with about $13 billion total. So they've got a ways to go, about $8 billion to go. Well, our final story comes from China. Scientists in China have announced a breakthrough in nuclear fuel reprocessing. It could end the country's energy supply problems. The new technology was developed by the state-run China National Nuclear Corporation, and it will enable the reuse of irradiated nuclear fuel. The technology was developed and tested at the factory of this company in the Gobi Desert, and it's going to be able to boost the usage rate of uranium materials at nuclear plants by 60-fold. According to the press release that came, China's proven uranium sources will last only 50 to 70 years, but with the new technology, being able to reuse old uranium, Our resources can now be extended to 3,000 years. Development is an important step forward in China's plans to increase the share of alternative power sources as it tries to reduce pollution and achieve energy independence. China, as well as France, the UK, and Russia, actively support reprocessing as a means for the management of highly radioactive spent fuel. It's not known what the United States' view on this is, except that we do know that we transport millions of tons of processed radioactive fuel to the Yucca Mountain permanent dump site in Nevada. I don't know if we should think of reopening that and actually extending our energy supplies. That's the news that we have for today. Welcome back to everybody, and we're glad we're in 2011, and we'll be back tomorrow, and we look forward to having our London audience in tomorrow. Thank you for watching.